Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a bit of an explanation. Ever since this detachment, Assimilation Swarm, got buffed, I've been on the train that this is now our best detachment. And, that's sometimes hard to believe. I have. I don't think I've explained holistically in a video why I believe that is. And oftentimes, one of the things with my videos is talking about the aspect of either the output or the scoring. I usually don't talk about both at the same time. So I want to kind of highlight why Assimilation Swarm is the best detachment to do both aspects of the game for TK for us right now. Um, there's list building that will change and all of those things that might come into play. But I believe Assimilation Swarm has the best tools for us to use, especially now more than ever. So let's get into Assimilation Swarm. The detachment rule is feed the swarm. In your command phase, each harvester unit from your army can regenerate one friendly Tyranid unit that is within 6 inches of it. A unit can only be regenerated once per phase. Each time a unit regenerates, do one of the following. One model in that unit regains up to D3 plus 1 lost wounds. One destroyed infantry model that isn't a character is returned to that unit with its full wounds remaining. If that unit is an endless multitude unit, up to 3 destroyed models are returned instead. Why is this important? So, previously, your harvesters had to be on objectives you control to trigger the regeneration. And, well, it was also D3. So sometimes you spent your entire harvester regen for one wound back. Now it's a minimum of 2, a maximum of 4. That's how math works. The harvesters also have an additional one. Everybody else one, in which the Norn assimilator, because it has assimilate in its name, can now be played in Assimilation Swarm. Still waiting for the lore explanation on that one. But all of this is pretty major when your harvesters can be anywhere. And if you've been watching my videos, I've been yelling at people for the harvester to take the Ripper Swarms coming into list. That way, hey, they deep strike, they're small, you can fit them in places. They can do mission play. Harvesters can do a lot of things for your list. And the tools in Assimilation Swarm can get you output as well. And that's something that I don't really highlight often in these videos where I try to encompass the entire detachment's abilities. Usually I try to focus on the interactions between two things and kind of drive that point home. But Assimilation Swarm has a lot to offer, and that I understand it can be a bit much for a lot of people. But I think after, well, especially now that I have some results to show, some more that are flooding in, and I saw some more list of Assimilation Swarm in the pipes. We'll see how those do as well. This would be a good time to talk about all the things. So past that, we have the enhancements. Regenerating Monstrosity, 20 points, can go on a Tyranids model that isn't a monster. The Bearer's unit can be regenerated up to twice per phase instead of once. You rarely see this. The only time that I've really liked it is putting it on Winged Tyranid Prime and regenerating an attached unit of gargoyles. So you get 6 gargoyles back because they're endless multitude after a shooting scoop. You rarely see it, but it's nice to have. 20 points is fine. I wish that while we're fixing things with names around here, it can go on a monster for regenerating monstrosity. Yes, the guy named Mr. Monster will be complaining about that. Next up, Instinctive Defense, 15 points. Tyranids model only. While the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units, you can target the bearer's unit with the heroic intervention stratagem for 0 CP. In addition, while the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units, models in the bearer's unit have fights first. So, if you're around a harvester, you can do heroic intervention for free and you get fights first. Important to note, this is not where you get to do it for free, even if somebody else did it. If you blew it somewhere else, uh, you can't use it here. Now, to that point, Von Rein's Leaper is something else that I've touted liking on this channel pretty often. They do have that clause. So, I suggest you instinctive defense if you can, obviously, first, and then do Von Ryan's Leapers, if that's the play that's going to be had. So just to make sure that your rules are in order and funky and not funky, that's how you have to do it. Biophagic Flow, Aura, 10 points. Tyranid model only while a friendly Harvester model is within a foot of the bearer. When using the Feed the Swarm ability, that Harvester model can regenerate one friendly Tyranid unit that is within 9 inches of it instead of one within 6 inches. Now, that just means when using Feed the Swarm, Harvester model, instead of 6 inches, 9 inches. 10 points, good points filler. Parasitic biomorphology is usually appealing, uh, sometimes hard to fit, and it depends on what level of play you're looking for too. 25 points, Tyranids model only. Add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit. The first time the bearer's unit destroys an enemy unit in the fight phase while the bearer is within 6 inches of 1 or more friendly harvester units until the end of the battle, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit. So, enhancements out the way, they're pretty good as well. Instinctive defense is nice, getting fights first in any capacity, and the usage of heroic intervention for free. Pretty cool to slam on things. Biophagic flow. Uh, now that you're not tied to objectives, not as important, but still pretty cool to have if you have 10 points to spare. Regenerating monstrosity, definitely the weakest of the bunch, and parasitic biomorphology is pretty cool, but because we aren't a, well, it actually kind of works a little bit against the detachment itself. It's good to have. It will save you from doing one thing that I'm going to explain in a bit. But for 25 points, it's nice. It's definitely probably third best in this list right now. Um, but yeah, if you can fit it, go for it. If you can't, don't worry about it. 25 points is Ripper points. So, going to the Harvesters really quickly, you have Haruspex, Norn Assimilator, Psychophage, Pyrovores, and Ripper Swarms. I've been talking about putting Rippers in lists the entire time because you can't fucking lose, including them. They're 25 points per model. Again, like, if I have 25 points, I'm going for another Ripper instead of Parasitic, to be honest. Um, and why do I say that you can't lose? Well, for starters, I've talked a lot about loving Broodguard Impulse. Any phase, when a harvester unit from your army that was just destroyed, you can use this stratagem on that unit even though it was just destroyed. Until the end of the battle, each time a friendly Tyranids model makes an attack that targets the enemy unit that just destroyed your harvester unit, +1 to the wound roll. You chuck a Ripper to get some points into a corner. They go, damn, I don't want that to happen again. They pick it up. Now you decide if you want to do +1 to wound versus that unit that picked it up, or, or, if you are in the right position, you do reclaim biomass. Any phase when a Tyranid unit from your army is destroyed before the last model and it is removed from play, one harvester unit from your army that is within 6 inches of that destroyed unit, regenerate one friendly Tyranid unit within 6 inches of your harvester unit. See Feed the Swarm. Now, as last FAQ checked, you can't do the same thing that happened with Brewguard. So if your Ripper died, you can't target your same Ripper to heal something else. But what you can do is your Ripper died somewhere, your Psychophage happens to be 6 inches within it, your Psychophage heals something else that is within 6 inches of that. Pretty nice. Or your Norn Assimilator, Haruspex, whatever it may be. Can do all of those things. And another thing, Tyrannoformed. During the command phase, one harvester unit from your army that is within range of an objective marker you control. That objective marker remains under your control even if you have no models within range of it until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any turn. So, sticky objectives. Here comes the big one that I don't really talk about a lot in these videos too much, is mission play. For a Ripper to go down on an objective that you control, alright, you can now make it sticky. And that, again, any harvester, but I'm just saying, why not do it for the 25 point unit that can deep strike and is small, so that being away from 9 inches is really workable, alright? So you put it down on an objective that you control, your command phase, sticky it. You get to leave that objective. Sticky objectives is really good in the game. I don't know if you know this, I assume you do. It is one of the best abilities to have, and it is something that us as Tyranid players don't have access to outside of this one stratagem and one in Warrior Bioform Onslaught. Warrior Bioform Onslaught requires you to use warriors to do it. Tyrannoform means you can do it with your Haruspecs, your Norn Assimilator, your Psychophage, your Power Force, your Ripper Swarms. That's enough for me to be satisfied with one command point, sticky objectives. And then I can leave and continue to do what I need to do. Now, Ripper Swarm has provided a lot of things in this grand scheme of, hey, you can play this thing. Let's talk about the other parts of the harvesters that I have faith, trust, and pixie dust in. A Blade of Carapace is 2 command points. Your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One harvester unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, models in your unit have the 5-up Feel No Pain. If your unit is within range of an objective marker you control, until the end of the phase, models in your unit have the 4-up Feel No Pain instead. So, if you are off an objective and you are a harvester, guess what? You get 5-up Feel No Pain for 2 command points. You'd say, but that's worse than what we have in Invasion Fleet. I can just make them 5-up Feel No Pain for 1 command point while being in synaptic range, right? In synapse. That's true, but it goes up to 4 if you're on an objective. And here's another thing, right? Let's talk about the harvesters. If that means that it is a T11 monster, okay, that now has a 4-up Feel No Pain for being in a spot, usually that means that it's a little bit tougher for your opponent to lift. And because you're playing Assimilation Swarm, there's a good chance you're taking a Psychophage that can heal because it's a harvester. It has a 5-up Feel No Pain on its datasheet. It gives out an aura of 6-up Feel No Pain. So I tell you that it's better to have access in your list to regenerating Feel No Pains for an aura of people, and then one that's being targeted makes that Feel No Pain a 4-up. That's pretty good. Secure Biomass. Your fight phase. Well, the fight phase, excuse me. One Tyranid unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, melee weapons equipped by models in your unit have the lethal hits ability. If your unit is a harvester unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, a successful unmodified hit roll of 5 scores a crit as well. Secure Biomass. Here we go to the output, okay? Making any Tyranid unit that you have lethal hits and melee is pretty good. And if it is a harvester, it is crits on 5s. So, one thing, your Haruspex is a melee unit with quite a decent number of melee attacks. Giving that crits on 5s is pretty good. Norn Assimilator, probably won't need it, but you can do it if you want. Psychophage has devastating wounds, I'd advise against it. Pyrovores, probably not. Ripper Swarms, funny enough, as I was reminded by a monstrosity, has sustained hits. So, sustained hits, crits on 5s, lethals? Yeah, that's actually really funny every now and again. Again, don't go out your way to do it, but just saying, Rippers coming in handy once more. Now, we're going to come back to something about secure biomass and rapacious hunger. Your fight phase. One Tyranid unit from your army that just destroyed an enemy unit, your unit immediately regenerates. When doing so, if your unit is a harvester unit and you choose one model to regain up to D3 lost wounds, that model regains up to 3 lost wounds instead. So, your Haruspex, your Norn Assimilator, your Psychophage kills something in your fight phase. This one is your fight phase. They regenerate up to 3 lost wounds. However, it says once again one Tyranid unit. So that means your Tyranid warriors gets to bring a model back for killing a unit. That's pretty nice, especially when you can give that warrior unit something like lethal hits. Now, you might be asking yourself, man, Monster really has lost it if he's talking good about warriors. Maybe. But out of all the detachments that people have tried to pitch warriors to me, it's always been weird to me that it seemed completely out of the ordinary to try it in Assimilation Swarm, but then turn around and say, yeah, Vanguard Onslaught, just because they got advance and charge. Uh, hey, there we go. I get it. There's a keyword interaction there, but I'd like to make my unit get there one way or another when they have access to something like sustained lethals. That's just one. That'll be one of the times I talk positively enough about the Warriors. Now, things have happened with the Assimilation Swarm lately. In fact, we have a familiar name coming from Crusher Stampede last, I believe. I believe that was the last one that we saw this name up here. Over to Assimilation Swarm. Let's look at their list, and it will explain some of the tabs that I have open and why I think some of the secrets of Assimilation Swarm are finally being revealed. So, we have Death Leaper. I should note also, this list is slight tweaks from the Crusher Stampede list. So I don't want it to be come off as deceptive that I'm like, yeah, no, this is perfectly crafted just for Assimilation Swarm. I think Thomas here was able to see, well, if I just change this, this, and this, Assimilation Swarm, here I come. And it paid off. So, Death Leaper might seem weird to some people. Hive Tyrant. Biovore, Lictor, Neurolictor might seem odd to some people. I don't remember if I've talked about this, but I'm going to today. Pyrivore, 2 Rippers, Exocrines, Haruspex, nor an Assimilator, nor an Emissary, 2 Tyrannifexes with Rupture Cannons. Why do I really like this list? Now, I am not a pro player. I doubt I can give you pro player analysis. I am going to strictly speak from the casual level, my analysis, why I like this, and what this does. There are 2 data sheets in here that I deem to be really important in Assimilation Swarm that aren't harvesters for this list as to why I like it a lot. First up, Hive Tyrant. Monster, everybody takes a Hive Tyrant of some flavor. What does that have to do with Assimilation Swarm? Well, compared to Invasion Fleet, you can put lethals on ranged and melee when you bring a walking Hive Tyrant. Your Hive Tyrant goes next to Exocrines, Maliceptors, whatever the hell, with ranged output and gives them lethals, as well as assault, if that's to be needed, right? We've brought Hive Tyrants in Assimilation Swarm because the Tyrant Guard are bulky and you regenerate them because they are infantry. T8, 4 wounds, 3 up save. That used to be our go-to play for Assimilation Swarm. Not saying that I have hard feelings towards that, but for the fact of bringing a Hive Tyrant, you can reduce the cost of something like a Blade of Carapace, making it 1 command point when things are looking tough for your Norn Assimilator that is on an objective. And for free, or for free, I guess I should say, secure biomass, lethal hits melee, while you are providing lethal hits ranged. This turns you into Xenos Guard, combined arms for what it is now. If you're watching this in the past, before they got that change, dope. If you're watching this in the future and it doesn't do that anymore, I don't know what to tell you. But what's the benefit of being guard? Well, guard's rule is if you are squadron, or I guess I should say if you are not tank, you shoot not tanks, not monster vehicle tanks or whatever with lethals. If you are, you shoot monster and vehicles with lethals. For our own invasion fleet, if you are going into infantry, you get sustained. Monsters and vehicles, you get lethals. What if I give everything lethals no matter what I do? I have the chance to completely forego our weakness in Tyranids of our strength. We stop, for the most part, at strength 9. Yes, the Maliceptor can hit to 10. Yes, the Norn Assimilator and Old One Eye and Haruspecs can get their melee, but then there's the AP aspect. And that's why we rely a lot on the Rupture Cannon for the Tyran effects, because it gives us a way to punch T12 better than a 4. But if everything we do is lethal, we can start forgoing that weakness. Also, Hive Tyrant is Synapse. Now let's talk about Synapse, managing that and the Harvester auras for Assimilation Swarm. I'm of the opinion in general, this is my opinion, as again, not a pro player, person that likes Tyranids, this is just that opinion, okay? Take with this what you will. That at a certain point you can start saying, fuck it, I'm not going to pay much attention to Synapse. Yes, it comes in handy to get those 3d6, but our strength is usually so-so, that for a lot of our things, you don't really need to keep them in Synapse too terribly bad. Now, obviously, it gets better, but with the Harvesters, I treat that more of a Synapse than as a synaptic range than I do Synapse itself. Because if they get lucky in any chance where they survive something with or without a 6 of Feel No Pain or 4 of Feel No Pain, whatever it may be, then the regenerations happen, especially if it's something like the Hive Tyrant making some things for free for me, right? I love that inclusion. And making things have +1 strength in melee, +1 to wound from a couple of different things, or lethals, means that our output gets better. Where would the second chance of +1 to wound come from besides Brugar Impulse? Well, Thomas here has talked about it. We have the Neurolictor. I think I've talked about this, but I don't remember. So, we're doing it again. Taking a Neurolictor in Assimilation Swarm is disgusting, in my opinion, and disgusting in a good way. I love it. Neural Disruption. In your command phase, select one enemy unit within 12 inches of this model. That unit must take a Battle Shock test. While an enemy unit is within 12 inches of this model, if that unit is Battle Shocked, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Each time a friendly Tyranid model makes an attack that targets that unit, add 1 to the wound roll. The Neurolictor is also Synapse. So, for the cost of being within Synapse range this time around, your unit, from the lowliest Hormigaunt to the Haruspecs, will receive some benefits. And I guess let's pull up something like the Haruspecs, since I've mentioned it a few times now, just to illustrate again. So, for those that don't know, Synapse, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, +1 to the strength characteristic if you are within Synapse range. That means your Shoveling Claws goes up to strength 15, your Ravenous Maw goes up to strength 8. With 14 attacks on Ravenous Maw, 7-1-2, going up to 8-1-2. Shoveling Claws, 4 attacks, going up to 15-2. The 15 doesn't really matter. But critting on 5s, these are breakpoints 7 to 8. You start wounding T8 on 4s. Anything that had you on 3s and more so, you start going like, maybe I'm doing that on 2s. T4 and below, you're doing it on 2s, right? Critting on 5s with lethal. That's pretty good. And here's the other thing. So remember how you have to be battle shocked with the Neurolictor? Haruspecs has long been criticized for the time that its battle shock test triggers. With Grizzly Spectacle, each time this model is selected to fight, after resolving its attacks, if one or more enemy units were destroyed by those attacks, each enemy unit within 6 inches of this model must take a Battle Shock test. Most people would say, well, this happens in the fight phase, so it'll just fall off when it gets to your opponent's turn. if they're not needing to take a battle shock test, of course. Well, what if your horror specs nom noms first triggers the battle shock test within a foot of a Neurolictor, and then your unit that is in that unit gets to fight now, +1 to wound. And your horror specs is a harvester that might have received lethal hits, crits on fives, for a feel no pain. And if it is still around, it gets to regenerate for somebody else, and if it's not around, Broodguard Impulse, because something that had to kill the horror specs, probably you want +1 to wound against. Probably. Not all the time, but it'll probably help. Now, going to another thing on mission play. I talked about Tyranniformed being pretty good because this is our access to sticky objectives. Not only that, here's another thing about the whole regenerating shenanigan thing. Every time I talk about regenerating and anything, I admit I forget to mention this. I think about it, don't really ever mention it whenever I'm talking about regenerating in any detachment. I always seem to leave this out. And somebody in the comments reminds me. You can bring back a model in places that you need it to happen. So if that is bringing back a model so that in the command phase you can sticky it because you weren't necessarily touching it before, that helps. If that means that you are just needing to regenerate a model to reach an objective, anyway, it helps. You can regenerate models, obviously the infantry ones, in ways that will progress your game plan. Do you need this unit of cough cough von Rhine sleepers to just be a bit more of a screen again while they have fights first and stealth and invuln save? You can do that. You can put one out, get that screen back to flowing. Or when I was talking about regenerating monstrosity with Wing Tyranid Prime and Gargoyles, guess what? You can do that and put that in a funky place at good timing too. With this being in your command phase, that means they are ready to play for the rest of your turn. This isn't at the end of your movement phase. This isn't at the end of the fight phase, if not with an engagement. None of that silly business. This is your command phase. So now you have more models to play with for the rest of your turn, whether that be getting you additional inches to leapfrog if you didn't succeed in chaining that regeneration out the first go round. You can do it there. So I think Assimilation Swarm has a lot of things, and I want to say we're seeing it rise again. Not only did we see Thomas recently, well, this is recently at time recording the video, do this. We also have another list by Christopher. That, funny enough, is called Warm Ass, and has the Hive Tyrant with Instinctive Defense and Neuro Tyrant with Biophagic Flow. We have some Gargoyles, have Biovores, have 2 Exocrines, Horror Spec spam, finally, Neurogants, Psychophage spam, Pyrovore spam, and 2 Tyrannifexes. Now, I'll be honest, even I have some questions. But if you could just take 3 of some select harvesters, well, I guess 3 units of 1-ofs of select harvesters, call it a day, I think that's pretty neat. Again, Exocrines still are good, and if you give them something like lethals, because they're next to a Hive Tyrant, +1 to wound because a Harvester went pop, yeah, I think that's pretty good. While you are making Harvesters of Harspexes go up in your opponent's face, that if they don't lift them, they will regenerate, and if they do, +1 to wound, and if they don't, once again, lethals crits on 5s for a shit ton of attacks from the Harspecs. Think that looks pretty good. Psychophage, 6 of Feel No Pain auras. Pyrovores will strip cover. Tyrannifexes are Tyrannifexes. Keep it simple, great execution. So, did I want to wait until people finally cracked more Assimilation Swarm to talk about why I think that this is our best detachment? A little bit, if I'm being honest. There was a little hint of not wanting to reveal too much because at the end of the day, I admit, if something's good and everybody starts doing it, GW goes, we have to turbo nerf it. And I don't want them to turbo nerf Assimilation Swarm. Do I think it's OP busted in the likes of the things that we currently have that are OP busted? No. But I do think there is a chance that if more people do a thing such as cough cough orcs whenever they want to do something fun, a lot of people will bring it out because there's some armies that people just have. A lot of people can find Tyranid players, Orc players, Necron players. Once we get something that's pretty good, you will find a lot of people doing it, and that's when a lot of things go on the chopping block. So I admit there's a little bit of, I didn't want to reveal too much because, come on, it's fun. If I just say, hey guys, it's the best detachment and nobody takes me up on it, more for me, even though my shit is in storage at the moment. So just saying. Assimilation Swarm, I guess I should talk a little bit about as I wind down this video, uh, why I feel that it's better, but over something like Invasion Fleet or Vanguard Onslaught or whatever, right? It's the fact that it combines movement tricks, damage output, and scoring shenanigans all together in the same detachment. Looking at the other ones, we have more or less one or the other. Invasion Fleet, you're playing it almost purely for the 5 of Feel No Pain. Yeah, it's nice to get sustained into the little fucks and lethals into the bigger fucks. But how badly does that come in handy? I would like to have. I'm not saying that it's not handy. Pause, pause. I know before everybody gets upset. But truthfully, sometimes I would like to have lethal into the tiny fucks, because the tiny fucks might be Deathwing Knights. And yes, I could still bring a Hive Tyrant for that, but that's in ranged. Maybe I want to throw a bunch of Hormigons at somebody's face and say, catch 30 lethals, good luck, and do the haha funny. Maybe it's finally Warriors, and I go haha do the funny. And they survive to see another day because they have 6 up Feel No Pain, thanks to the Psychophage, and then they regenerate it because of a random Ripper that is in a corner that my opponent left unaddressed. Alright? Crusher Stampede, you don't really have much of the scoring part, even though I keep telling people you can run the Norns the same way, and we've seen that recently. Norns will score you points, but guess what? Guess what's a Norn? And over here, Norn Assimilator. So, hey, the same argument I'd make about putting Norns on objectives, you can do it over here, and they will score you points, right? If they just get you primary, they get you primary. If they're in a terrain feature, guess what? They probably get you even more points on top of that. So, and then in Swarm, as far as everybody's concerned, it's dead, and Assimilation Swarm is the new Unending Swarm. Especially considering, once again, cough cough, the Hormigons. If I can regenerate them in several ways, and then give them lethals, there you go. If that means my gargoyles can regenerate a lot, there we go. If that means that my brick of 22 Neurogants can regenerate, there you go. If it's Termagants that also are getting boosted by Turv, we've seen that before with Sam Pope. That means cough cough, that can be done over here too. I understand every time I talk about Unending Swarm being still plausible, like still has things you can do in it. Everybody's infantry skew list, Green Tide, Crude, all of them still have play because it's a skew list. That's the thing. It's a skew is always going to do a skew. You can still do it, but I understand we're still sad about that. Vanguard Onslaught is our scoring detachment. And here's the thing where I again talk about Vanguard Onslaught being probably my second most invested. That's the word. Invested detachment. It does scoring tricks. It gives you advance in charge for select units that I have a whole video. I think I have 2 videos on why Vanguard Onslaught tends to fall flat. But um, the name of the game, yes, is scoring points, but also your opponent is trying to score points, and this is a war game where you will be asked to kill things. Vanguard Onslaught tends to have a tough time of doing the kill things part. The Assimilation Swarm can help you do that and survive. And then regenerate if you survived. And has scoring tricks with regenerating models in places and sticky objectives. So, and I know Vanguard Onslaught has an uppy downy. I've told people this before, there's nothing stopping you from taking Raveners in Assimilation Swarm. Put your uppy downy over here, twin link lethal hits, 7 attacks per model. Yeah, that works too. Synaptic Nexus, known for being our defensive one for a good point of that time when Reinforced Hive Node was what it was, when it was effectively the good Armor of Contempt, right? But, you know, I'm just saying, Assimilation Swarm, you have access to 4 up Feel No Pain, 5 up Feel No Pain if you're unlucky, I guess, and you're taking the Psychophage more often than not. Now, I gotta point out that Thomas didn't see a Psychophage here. Guess probably didn't really need it, if we're being honest on that one. And I should talk about Death Leaper's inclusion. Death Leaper helps trigger the Neurolictor and is a lone op that a lot of people would say is scary. Fights first and you regenerate Death Leaper, yeah, people will be upset. I think that another thing that we've done in Crusher Stampede, while we're talking about Synaptic Nexus, the same thing that has happened in both Maliceptors guiding Norns. We've seen that. It's pretty good. Triple Norn Emissary with triple Maliceptors. Yeah, that's pretty nice. And I'm waiting for it to come over to an Assimilation Swarm where, if you involve some Psychophages to give them 6 of Feel No Pains on the Maliceptors, and then heal if they didn't lift them in time with +1, like, I'm just waiting for that to be the next Assimilation Swarm build. And Warrior Bioform Onslaught, I won't be my usual self and say, blah, 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 because some people enjoy it. But to that point, instead of only regenerating a warrior and only doing stickies with warrior units and Assimilation Swarm, I can regenerate anything with anything, well, damn near anything, several types of harvesters. I can sticky with several types of harvesters, whether that be a deep striking harvester, a harvester that wants to be an objective anyway, like a Norin assimilator, if it is a Haruspex that happened to pass by on its way to beat somebody's ass, something like that. Warrior Bioform Onslaught does have boost to strength for our range attacks in one and reroll wound rolls. I'd counter that again. If you can just make lethals from ranged or melee, you can start saying fuck the strength aspect of playing the game. So, and if you want to talk about bringing a lot of infantry that can possibly regenerate and are just tougher to take out, I think you can do the exact same thing over here in Assimilation Swarm. The sky's the limit on what you're taking to pair with the harvesters in Assimilation Swarm. If you want to take monster spam, you can do that. If you want to take bulky infantry tyrant guard spam, you can do that. If you want to take little shits unending swarm spam, you can do that. Assimilation Swarm has a lot of flexibility, a lot of play, damage output, and for the inclusion of some shit that doesn't say harvester on it, you can even continue what you want to do. Because it should be said that a Neurolictor, yeah, while increasing the capabilities to wound between Brewguard Impulse and Neurolictor, it also has a defensive aspect of -1 to hit. But also, if your opponent is battle shocked, they're not doing shit. They're not scoring shit while battle shocked. Especially if they're battle shocked and it's helping with the horror specs. Maybe your opponent thought they would safely complete this action over here. Now they're battle shocked from the horror specs trigger going off. Just saying. Maybe your opponent figured that, oh no, it's fine. Hive Tyrants, whatever. But now, every time, because you have made the cost of a Blade of Carapace one command point, and again, this extends to the Winged Hive Tyrant as well. But another thing that is a lesser thing here on the Neurolictor, and should be pointed out about Death Leaper too. Um, every time it gets around to your opponent's turn and they think that they're going to do some real damage for one command point now, you do a Blade of Carapace and there's a 4-up Feel No Pain that they have to get through. on, of course, a Harvester. That's good. Now, the other thing about choosing Hive Tyrant over Swarm Lord. I also like Swarm Lord and Assimilation Swarm. Swarm Lord, Assimilation Swarm. If anybody wants to complain about things not matching names, fuck it. Let's make the Swarm Lord Harvester. Actually, that might be really good, actually. Yeah, let's make the Swarm Lord a Harvester. Yeah, let's do that. Uh, but past that, so here comes the play about playing, tactical. If you can discard cards and get command points because you didn't already gain a command point, but you just made some shit free with the Hive Tyrant, there you go. If you brought Neurolictor or any of the lictors that have feeder tendrils in the off chance that you kill a enemy character model, you can still gain a command point. So that's another reason why I like the level of Thomas's list over here. So Death Leaper, let's make sure Death Leaper has it before I continue to talk out my ass. Yep, Death Leaper has it. You have access to +1 to wound several places, lethal hit several places, regenning, defensive, mission play. Sticky objective is pretty good. You have access to a lot of things with Assimilation Swarm. So that's the whole reason why I say it is now our best detachment. That's not to say that I love Crusher less now. Is that to say that I think Vanguard is even worse now? Or Synaptic, or any of the things that I might criticize in another day. It is purely Assimilation Swarm has all of the components that you would like for the cost of you managing an additional aura if you feel like managing two. Again, if you can just bypass the strength aspect, who cares about the synapse range thing? Who cares? It's nice to have. It's nice when the think tank that I've talked about, I like an Assimilation Swarm, Neurotyrant, and Zoanthropes for anybody that hasn't heard that term before. Uh, you take the think tank, put a Neuroloid on something like, again, just shooting from things that I've liked in my list previously, on a Trigon, take it up from Strength 9 to Strength 10. Then another unit that had low strength can benefit from the lethals. And then I do that in melee for 2 units, and then I actually start to play the game of 40k, as well as scoring and doing the things, and bringing pieces that can get me scoring. If it needs to be something like a Beast of Nurgle level where I want it to still be there, guess what? I can put a Psychophage in that spot. I know it doesn't have Deep Strike. If it's anything that can be completed with a Spore Mine, it can be completed with a Ripper Swarm. Pretty nice. Just saying those things. Pyrovores, you take a brick of those. You have Immolator with extra steps. But also, you have pretty good fire overwatch. Just saying. So, the Harvesters are good. This is a good detachment. I think more people need to put more reps onto it to see the light. Do I think that it's OP crazy? No, no, no. I think that there are definitely things that can be done. People will immediately say, yeah, once people figure out, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I was going to say something as a counterplay method that people apply to other things, but isn't quite right. But once people go, yeah, just kill all the harvesters. All right, you've taken your time to get through all my harvesters. I have +1 to wound on half of your shit, and it took you even more time because I was giving 4-up Feel No Pain to those bulkier harvesters. Good luck. Like, it isn't so simple as just kill the harvesters as people might think the counterplay may be. And it isn't just as simple as kill the things around the harvesters because some of those harvesters still are scary, such as the Harspecs. And I know we give the Norn Assimilator a lot of shit, still comes in handy. And the Psychophage, as well, can creep up on people with devastating wounds. It's not often that it does it, but just saying it still has it. And I guess I should show the Ripper. The Ripper does have sustained hits 1. So even now, again, 6 attacks per model. Sustained lethal crits on 5s can catch somebody off guard at the time that you need it. I'm so sorry to the monstrosity that commented that. I forgot which videos I would usually credit. If that was you, go ahead and leave it down below. That told me about that one. That one interaction where it actually saved your game, but that's pretty funny. So, Assimilation Swarm is good. Give it more of a chance. Do I think that this is going to push us into 60% win rate Tyranids? Probably not. There's a lot of problems in general. But I think it definitely deserves a bit more credit than what it, I guess, currently gets. So yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.